Welcome to our April edition of Puck Online, bringing you a quick summary of all the major news and events for the public cloud space. Every month we'll come to you online in video, podcast and blog form, as well as an in-person event in Vancouver, Canada every quarter. Today I'm broadcasting indoors for a change to have a break from all the distractions of people walking past in the background. As usual, we've got lots of cloud news to cover, so let's get into it. In general cloud-related news, VMware's revenue is up 16% last quarter. They've credited this to their hybrid and multi-cloud strategy. Public cloud spend this year is up 24% on last year. This year's projected spend will be around $210 billion, and they're forecasting that in 3 years' time, this will be about $370 billion. BlackBerry has been getting cloud certifications in order to get a US federal government business looking at connected devices and the security of those devices. Also, debate has been growing around in the online community whether AWS is a friend or a foe to the open source community. The UK government's spending over £1 billion annually on cloud, and the US federal government has been spending around $858 million annually on cloud. Box has also announced AutoCAD integration for 2D and 3D models, which will allow them to be saved to the cloud directly from the AutoCAD software. And China is considering letting foreign cloud providers own their own data centers in China within a free trade zone. Today, even though companies like Microsoft Azure and Amazon AWS can provide services within China, they're actually owned by other companies, third parties that they deal with. So this would be a great change if this happened, meaning that their solutions in China would be the same, if not very similar, compared to what the differences are now today. This month I had one story about Alibaba's Ali Cloud, which is not a positive one. They had a major outage at the start of March for the North China region. Now, many might be saying, especially here in North America and Canada, why that would be such a big deal for over here. But really, to keep it in focus, that Ali Cloud is trying to break out into the Western market, and the fact that they have 47% market share of the cloud in China, this is a major outage for where they are focused in today, and sort of tells a story of concern towards what they're planning to expand to Western Canada. It's kind of the equivalent of Azure or AWS having a major outage for half of North America today. In Google GCP news, they've now introduced some new pricing for the enterprise. If you're spending around $10,000 minimum per year, you can actually lock in that or a higher price of what you project that your spend will be, with nothing else extra paid until the end of the year if you went 30% over that usage. In the second year, they'll lock in what your peak usage was in the previous year. There was also an outage and a high latency issues for Gmail, Drive and YouTube during the month of March. On a positive note, lots of new regions getting launched for Google. The latest was in Zurich, which is their 6th in Europe, and in the previous month they launched Hong Kong. GCP Japanese employee has been listed in the world records now. As of last month, she was able to calculate pi to 31 trillion digits. The previous record, I think, was in 2016 for about 24.6 trillion digits. So I don't know whether that's considered blitzing it, but certainly a lot more. And she did this by running 25 VMs on GCP over 121 days. And also finally, one of the major announcements from Google the other week was that they have a new streaming console called Stadia. You can think of this as sort of like Netflix for gaming. So it sounds like the hardware is disappearing, or at least like your traditional Xbox or PlayStation dedicated hardware box is probably going to disappear, and it's going to become more of a software-based thing for gaming. I do believe that Microsoft and the other gaming platforms out there are also looking at something similar, but certainly Google's the first to come out with this sort of announcement for it to be launched. Okay, now in Microsoft Azure news, something for the gaming developers out there. Microsoft GameStack which is a group of services for developers to host multiplayer games for all devices. Also, in a surprise move for some, Microsoft has announced Zipline, which looks at Microsoft Azure's data compression. So they actually released as open source the algorithms, the hardware specs, and the source code for this, which will allow for double the compression than the current standards. I really feel like this is a move from Microsoft to make it easier for solutions such as OpenStack to start integrating Azure onto other hardware out there. Also, for Azure, there was a new region in South Africa that went online, and Azure Backup for SQL Server. So there's a one-click point-in-time restore, which is pretty cool. 15-minute RPO, and that all went GA in the last month. The other thing that I found really interesting about this is the auto protection feature. So what you can do is you can actually set this up on your server to look after your SQL backups, and then any extra databases that get added will automatically be added to be protected by this backup service. In other news, LVMH, which owns Louis Vuitton and the perfumes Christian Dior, is working with Microsoft Azure to develop a blockchain solution to verify the company's high-priced goods. And then finally, Security Center has now integrated their IoT in there, which will make Azure the first provider to have end-to-end unified security for the IoT space. In Amazon AWS news, always a lot of news to cover with them, especially on the technical side and features being released. But the two I felt to identify in this brief news update was around their AWS Pro Rata program that they've been testing. So this is to help connect startups with investors, seeing that a lot of startups, especially 10 years ago and more so these days, are attracted to AWS with its pay for what you use and start small and expand to enterprise levels without much change. It makes sense that AWS would want to encourage and help this community flourish within AWS. And also, Amazon announced that they plan to have CloudFront, their edge network, in Colombia by the end of this year. For Oracle Cloud news, troubling in this area again this month. I hope that they can turn this negative talk around and we can all start focusing on their technology, because it's always good to have more competition in the space. So I certainly don't want to see them going by the wayside like a lot of other cloud ventures out there for platforms in the past. But news came out that they had already laid off 40 team members from Oracle in Seattle. 350 were announced to be laid off in May, and apparently there's been even bigger cuts outside of the US. While the other clouds are growing, they've actually been declining in growth. The cloud growth grew only 1% overall, which is down 2% since last year. So that's all we have time for this month. For all items we are hosting, like meetups, vodcasts, podcasts, and blogs, see www.publiccloud.ninja. For upcoming events in Vancouver, we have our meetup that is going to happen on Tuesday, June the 4th in Vancouver, Canada. So check out www.meetup.com/publiccloud and make sure you sign up to become a member so you'll be notified once we make this public. This episode was made possible by NetApp, who are focused on storage and optimization around your traffic speeds between whether it be on-premise or in the cloud. And Scalar Decisions, who are a leading Canadian IT solution provider, who are focused on security, infrastructure, and cloud. If you think we've missed anything, let us know in the comments section. Our next episode will be in a month's time, so make sure you subscribe so you'll be notified. Till then, keep challenging yourself.